Sunday, fun day for the Washington Capitals in Montreal. Caps win 5-2 over the Montreal Canadiens in game number 4, giving them the all-important 3-1 series lead, coming back home to Washington. Let's get into it, babes. First period. Nothing happens. Second period though, complete and utter domination by the Washington Capitals. They outshoot the Montreal Canadiens 11-4 in the second period, and yet they somehow get outscored 2-1 in the second period thanks to 2 power play goals by the Montreal Canadiens. So Dylan Strome, right? Absolute beauty. I think we can all agree on that. He starts the second period off on the right foot for his Washington Capitals, scoring just 1 minute and 25 seconds into the second period to give the Caps a 1-0 lead. That is his second goal of the series already, and it is assisted by Anthony Beauvillier. But then, like I said, 2 power play goals for the Montreal Canadiens to end the period. And so they're up. The Montreal Canadiens are 2-1 at the end of 2, despite, like I said, being outshot 11-4 by the Caps in the second period. They come to the end of the second period holding a 2-1 lead. But third period, okay? This is where the whole series changes. Thomas Wilson, okay? Tommy Wilson, Tomathan motherfucking Wilson, baby. I'm wearing his jersey right now for this video for a reason. This guy is a game changer. This guy is a series changer, and he does exactly that in game number 4. He changes this whole series here with 1 hit, folks, with 1 massive hit. With, like I said, his Washington Capitals down 2-1 after 2 periods, entering the third period. Now they're up 2-1 in the series, but if Montreal can hold on to this 2-1 lead in this game, the series will be tied 2-2 coming back to Washington. Tom Wilson was not going to let that happen. He blows up Alexandre Carrier. And when I say blows up, I mean like this guy was literally picking his eyeballs up off of the ice. This guy did not know what his name was. He did not even know what province he was in after this hit. Alexandre Carrier, I know most of the Habs players speak English and French, right? Alexandre Carrier was probably speaking a language that doesn't even exist yet after this hit. He had no fucking clue, man, where he was as he tried to make his way over to the Montreal bench after this hit. And so as he is trying to make his way to the Montreal bench after this hit, this clean hit, by the way, textbook clean hit by Tom Wilson, amazing stuff. As Alexandre Carrier is trying to make his way over to the bench, trying to find where that bench is again, as he is lost out there, he is struggling to get over to the bench. He starts trying to make his way over there, and this leaves the Habs with 1 defenseman back, right? Mike Matheson. He is the only Habs defenseman back, and the Caps, after this Tom Wilson hit, they make a great line change. They turn the puck right back up ice quickly here and get on the attack. Huge hit followed by quick strike offense, right? Just absolutely hockey at its finest. It was really beautiful. So Brandon Duhaime, he gets this goal here. I had a feeling, like I said before the series, that this guy might have a huge goal or 2 up his sleeve for the Washington Capitals in these playoffs, as he just seems like that type of guy. He scores a huge one here. Jacob Chychrun with a great flip pass up ice finds Brandon Duhaime entering into the Habs zone. Duhaime manages to stay on side. Great work there by him. And then he makes a great move to get around, like I said, that lone Habs defender now who is back. Mike Matheson makes a great move to get around him, puts this puck on net, and it finds its way to the back of the net for the Caps. And we have got a 2-2 hockey game. So a huge clean hit destroyed, right? And then, like I said, turn the puck up ice quickly and find yourselves the tying goal. Awesome stuff by the Caps. Awesome stuff by Tom Wilson. And as we know now, obviously, that hit completely changed this series, because with less than 4 minutes left in regulation, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, a great up ice pass. Where the fuck did that come from him? Amazing pass by him. Up ice finds Dylan Strome, and Dylan Strome doing what Dylan Strome does, baby. He draws all of the Habs defenders over to himself, and then he makes a great drop pass for Andrew Mangiapane. Mangiapane, it is now essentially a 2-on-1 situation with he and the greatest goal scorer of all time, literally Alex Ovechkin. And Mangiapane, he must have seen something here that he liked against the Habs netminder. He must have seen an opening here, because he completely ignores Alex Ovechkin, like I said, literally the greatest goal scorer of all time, on his right side, completely ignores him and decides to call his own number instead. And as it turns out, that was a very wise decision actually by Andrew Mangiapane, as like I said, he must have seen something that he liked there. He must have seen some open net, and he hits it, baby. Absolute snipe past the Habs netminder. Dobish, 3-2 for the Washington Capitals here late in regulation. So the Caps completely take over this game after that Tom Wilson monster hit in center ice, right? So that really, like I said, it changed the game. It changed the series. The Caps, like I said, completely took over this hockey game from that point on after that hit. So what an amazing play, like I said, by Tom Wilson, recognizing that the momentum in that game needed to be changed. As like I said, right, like the Caps had played a hell of a second period. They outshot the Montreal Canadiens 11-4 in the second period, but they find themselves outscored in that period 2-1, right? So that can be very deflating. And certainly, you know, at that point, like momentum was on the side of the Montreal Canadiens. Like they did not deserve to be up 2-1 at that point in the game, and yet they were, right? And they're on home ice. They had all of the momentum on their side. Tom Wilson recognizes it, blows a guy up, literally blows him to smithereens, and that completely changes this game. And like I said, changes this series. And yeah, the Caps rewarded here late for taking over this game, as Brandon Duhaime, he gets a second goal of the game for himself on the empty net, as Lane Hutson here, I don't know, Habs fans, what do you want me to say about it? The Habs win the faceoff, so they pull the netminder, right, for the extra attacker. They win the faceoff in the offensive zone back to Lane Hutson. And Lane Hutson, the Caps rush him, obviously. So great play by the Caps defenders. They rush him, but Lane Hutson, he just passes this puck right to Nick Dowd. And Nick Dowd finds Brandon Duhaime for, like I said, Dewey's second goal of this hockey game. Makes it 4-2, baby, for your Washington Capitals. And because one empty net goal was not enough and we wanted to rub some extra salt in the wound here, who better to rub salt in that wound than one Tom Wilson? Connor McMichael finds Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson puts it into the empty net for the 5-2 lead. And oh yeah, baby, he is absolutely giving it to the Montreal Canadiens fans down there in the Habs end of the ice. He gives them a little how do you do there up against the glass after scoring that goal to make it 5-2. And that, friends, would be your final score. The Washington Capitals defeating the Montreal Canadiens in Montreal at the Bell Center in game number 4 by a score, like I said, of 5-2 to take a 3-1 series lead home with them to Washington. So a couple of things, okay? Pivotal game, obviously. Game number 4 in a 7-game playoff series is always a pivotal one. Especially when like you go from, it could have been a 2-2 tie and now you go to being up 3-1, right? So a pivotal game number 4, and the Caps, they showed up for this one, man. They really did. We'll talk about the special teams in a second because they were garbage. But at 5-on-5, man, the Caps, they really showed up and dominated this game in Montreal. They outshoot the Montreal Canadiens 26-18 for the hockey game. And yeah, the Caps, they score 5 non-special teams goals, right? Montreal, for their part, they get nothing at 5-on-5 at even strength. They scored the 2 power play goals, and that is all she wrote, baby, for the Habs. However, special teams, right? They would need to be fixed for the Caps. We knew that. And of course, we know now that they were fixed in game number 5. But yeah, man, special teams for the Caps in this game were awful. 0 for 5 on their own power play. And then, of course, they give up the 2 power play goals to the Montreal Canadiens on their 4 power play opportunities. So, not great on special teams, but they certainly made up for it at 5-on-5. All right, babes, that is going to be it for this one. As many of you know, I did fall ill there for a few days, for several days, had no voice, and so I am making these videos late. So banging out 3 in a row here tonight. And so yeah, I've got 1 more to go here. Game number 5, baby. Can't wait to talk about it. Wow, what a performance by the Washington Capitals here in game number 4, and what a performance again in game number 5, like I said, as we now know. So good times to be a Capitals fan, right? Babes, thank you all seriously so much for being here. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for liking these videos, commenting on these videos, sharing these videos around with, your friends, your family, your fellow Caps fans, your fellow hockey fans in general. I really, really, really appreciate that so much. And yeah, comments wise, I do love reading your guys' comments. You guys have had so many great insights throughout the playoffs here so far, throughout the entire season here so far, really. So yeah, I always love getting your guys' opinions, and I really do. I just love reading your comments. So keep them coming. Love to see that. Love reading them, and whenever I get a chance, of course, I do try to respond to some as well. So, but yeah, I've got a lot to do here right now, making 3 videos, like I said, back to back. And then, of course, now we know we will be facing the Carolina Hurricanes in the next round as well. So when I finish with that Game 5 video for this first round, I will be on to, making content previewing that second round series against the Carolina Hurricanes. So I hope that you guys will tune in for that. Until next time, babes, I appreciate you guys so much. I really, really do. Until next time, and as always, let's go, Caps.